Please excuse the mess. It did wonders with the upstairs bedroom, but this garage defies color coordination.
Don't bother me, I'm sketching. Oh, look what you made me do!
Hello, Steve. Welcome to the House of Flame, as we like to call it. Oh, cut it out, Spots, honestly. Once he gets barking, a good piece of meat is the only way to shut him up. There you go, Spot. So, Steve, bet you don't remember me. Heard about that short in the old wiring. I'm Fire Marshal Sparky, head of your fire department. Please, it's not the subject, it's the process. Don't be such a party pooper, Steve. We're talking about art here. Besides, we haven't had a fire in Harvard since the newspaper building burned down. Though I'll admit that the water in this place is one big accident waiting to happen. Isn't that right, Spot? A dreadful affair. You wouldn't think that a brick and steel building with a sprinkler system could go up that quickly. Oh, please. Dwayne was glad enough to see the thing go up, and so was McKnight. If you could get into that safe in his wall... Forget it. Look, Steve, as far as I know, the fire was an accident. Let's just leave it at that. Now don't you go moving. Some people think all we do is sit around, sketching, fetching examples of manhood for our own amusement. Nothing could be further from the truth. Why, just the other day we cited Tetsuya Crumb for fire code violations. All those dried-out paper wasp nests clustered around our wooden house. Why, it's a Kevlar just waiting for the right faggot. Believe me, none of us wants to see another fiasco like the Sentinel fire. Bye-bye.
7825, code 6, 105 North Avenue, 52.
Hello, Steve. Let me introduce myself. I'm Sheriff Dwayne, and this here is Loomis.
Pleasure, I reckon.
Then, we haven't met before?
Of course we have, but I heard about your alleged amnesia and figured I'd play along. I sure hope this is just a prank, and not the start of some insanity plea. Keep your nose clean, or you'll wind up in jail, and that's no place to hold a wedding. Why do you want to break your poor mama's heart with all this amnesia bunk?
I'm telling you the truth. Why won't anyone believe me?
Well, you've always been a kidder, Steve.
Yeah, so everybody keeps telling me.
Boy, you need to stop all this funning and get serious. You've got a wedding coming up soon. Heck, you should be thinking about your career and about joining the lodge. Amnesia or no, you can't have forgotten you're about to marry the prettiest little thing in Harvest. I think you and Stephanie are perfect for each other. I just hope her father's disappointment doesn't spoil everything.
Disappointment?
Mr. Potsdam wants to hold the wedding in the lodge, but he'll never get in. Like all the rest, he's always hanging around the post office the first day of the month, waiting for Boyle to bring out that month's lodge applications. And there's always a long line, never enough applications to go around, and even if you do get an application, chances are you're right out of luck. Fewer are called to the order and even less accepted. And Potsdam, well, they've turned him down so many times, unless he does something radical, he'll never get in. Crime-wise, nothing much has happened in Harvest since the newspaper fire. Oh, sure. Every week or so, we get the odd transient dropping dead. But other than that, it gets pretty slow around here. Sure, you remember. The Sentinel building burned down about 6 months ago.
That's what I'm telling you, Sheriff. I don't remember anything. Why won't you believe I have amnesia?
Well, you've always been a kidder, Steve. Anyway, the fireman said the fire was caused by arson. I never caught the perp, though.
But we found the gas can that was used. Yes, sirree, Bob. It's in the evidence room.
Loomis, that's classified. Darn it.
How many times you gonna have to tell me to keep my mouth shut, I wonder? Sorry, boss.
You've got the gas can in the evidence room? Did you dust it for prints?
You've been watching too much TV, Steve. Heck, who can make out all those curvy lines anyhow? No, it's sitting in there gathering dust, clean as the day we found it. Just in case I ever need a spare gas can. That case is closed, Steve. Loomis here is my deputy. Without him, I'd have a hard time keeping the peace, or at least taking a lunch break. Mainly Loomis answers the phone and babysits the office while I'm out, though sometimes he likes to go in the back and stain the jail mattress. Isn't that right, Loomis?
Oh, now, Sheriff, what you gotta go and say that for?
Loomis has more than his share of problems. I wouldn't invite him to the wedding. Or if you do, make sure he doesn't catch the garter. That could be embarrassing.
Oh, I wouldn't do nothing, Dwayne. But I sure would like a little garter that's been around Stephanie's thigh. Oh, well, that'd be right special.
Stop on by any time, Steve.
Anything I can help you with? Help yourself. Speaking of which, you're real lucky to be marrying Stephanie. She don't look like a good woman. I just hope she don't turn out like Mrs. Loomis. For mercy forbid Mrs. Phelps. Good women can be awful hard on a man's needs, don't you know? Oh, gosh darn, she's purty. Kinda like a gal I seen on some of them French postcards they used to make. Used to be, I'd take them things, go back in jail if nobody was there and kind of look them over one-handed, fold some towels. That was before Mrs. Loomis. Oh gosh, I wish I had some of them girly pictures, but Mrs. Loomis won't let me keep them in the house. I still remember the time she caught me holding some of them pictures up with one hand. She took the broom to me. I howled like a hound dog, the broom going up and down, flashing straw and blood and straw, and I drooped. I was crying so bad, and it was so hard I had to crawl under the porch naked with all the black winter spiders, and I got bit something fierce, little fangs digging into my bare behind all over. I ask you, is that any way to treat a man? And Mrs. Phelps and the sheriff don't make it no easier neither. If Sheriff Dwayne had a little kindness, he let me get around the little lady by letting me keep some of them picture books here, even if Mrs. Phelps would let me buy one. But see, he won't let me keep none here neither. He don't like me getting the jail mattress all marked up, don't you know? Sometimes a man can be good with a gun or a knife, but even so, one-handed and all, he can get a little off in his aim. Ain't no shame in it. That's why the good Lord made evaporation and such. But the sheriff, he don't like it. It don't pay no mind to a man's needs no more than Mrs. Loomis. Bless her. Why, you sure ought to appreciate what a man's got to do sometimes in a parked car, or a waist-high knothole in a tree, or jail cell at noon. Matter of fact, Mrs. Phelps got no reason not to sell you some of them French postcard girly picture books. If you can get any, you'd see clear to part with them. Bring them round when the sheriff's at lunch, and I'd be obliged. Of course, I don't necessarily mean French postcards. That's just what we called them in my day. Any kind of girly picture book, the kind men like, would be just dandy. I'd be right grateful, kiddo, if you were to bring me one. Mrs. Phelps down at the general store don't help things none. She's got them special picture books, the one with the lady, but she won't sell me none on account of she knows my wife, Mrs. Loomis. Dadgummit, if that don't burn my britches. If I even ask about them, she tells Mrs. Loomis, and I get the broom. Enough to break a man's heart, her burning my French postcards, and me unable to replace them. A man's got needs, don't you know? Anytime, kiddo.
Steve, what are you doing, sneaking up on me like that? God, for a second I thought you were Mr. Johnson. What would you like to order? Sure. And my name's Edna Fitzpatrick. I'm not the one with amnesia.
Then you believe me.
Well, you always were a kidder, Steve.
I guess I've changed. I'm not kidding.
Now, Steve, faking amnesia won't help anything. If you don't want to marry Stephanie, then don't. But don't play sick, for heaven's sake. I'd expect that from Karen, not an 18-year-old. You've met Karen, my 8-year-old. Other than the diner, she's all I have. There isn't a nicer girl in Harvest than Stephanie, Steve. You should be grateful that she's promised you her hand.
I don't remember that happening, Edna.
Honestly, you men are so childish. I don't know what it is about marriage that turns even the bravest man into a coward. I was going to marry Karen's father when he just up and ran out on me one night. I heard that he joined the lodge. But if he did, I never saw anything out of him. Even Sheriff Dwayne wasn't able to find out what happened to him. Mr. Johnson has a liking for me. I call it a crush, but that's too innocent a word. He's a bitter man with too much time on his hands. He's never gotten over being rejected by the lodge, and there's something unwholesome in the way he looks at me. I'm always glad when the sheriff comes in every day at noon. The lodge is the repository of all wisdom. You should join the Order of the Harvest Moon, Steve, and soon.
Why? For God's sake, what is it about this place?
The wheat ripens and waits not for the scythe. The farmer who waits too long, it were better that he use the scythe to rip his own stomach out than to stay his side when the wheat ripens. The harvest moon wanes and then comes winter. An empty belly, the body sans belly, gurgling within or bloody on the ground. What does it benefit a man if he gains his soul and loses the world? You hunger. Feed yourself before it's too late. Oh.
Edna?
Steve. What happened? Were we talking about Paul? Or was it Karen?
You seemed strange there for a minute.
I'm sorry. I'm under a lot of stress. Running this diner all alone. Stop by anytime, Steve.
Hi, what's your name?
Karen,
What are you doing?
playing. My mom is working, so I gotta stay out of her hair. Wanna play?
Not now, maybe later.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Hello there, Steve. Here for lunch?
No, just here looking around. Though I'm not entirely sure where here is.
Oh, I forgot. You're playing your little amnesia prank. Well, boy, this is DNA's diner. Isn't that right, Edna?
Don't listen to Sheriff Dwayne. This is Edna's diner. But ever since the E burned out on the sign, they've been giving me a hard time.
Now, don't be like that, Edna. It's a great place to eat, which is good, since it's the only place to eat in Harvest. Stop on by any time, Steve.
Oh, oh, by George. Oh, by Jiminy. Oh, this here's the real thing. Oh, can I have it? Oh, oh, thank you, Steve. Excuse me, kiddo. I gotta go check the jail for clean towels.
Hello, Steve. Where's Loomis?
You'll be coming around the mountain if you come. Oh, that's it.
Loomis, damn you!
Wait, no.
You pervert!
No!
Banging up the mattress again! Folding up the towels! Charming the snake!
Stay tuned, buckaroos. There's more to come on Range Riders Cowboy Roundup. So don't go away. And what's your name, hombre?
Steve.
Steve's a swell name. My dog's name is Steve. Would you like my autograph, Steve? You'd want to talk to Mr. McKnight, buckaroo. I'm just Range Rider, the cowpoke's cowpoke. You gotta excuse me, youngin'. I gotta ski-daddle to the watering hole and back before the commercial's over. Violence? What about it? Violence is as American as apple pie and low SAT scores. Where would we be right now if the cowboys hadn't gone out west and butchered innocent people to steal their land? Answer me that, Mr. Know-It-All.
But what about studies that have shown that children become more violent when watching violence?
Buckaroo, I rip the guts out of godless heathen Injuns. Most kids don't see godless heathen Injuns on a regular basis, and if they do, they better either get their eyes checked or do like old Range Rider and shoot the bejesus out of them, lest they want to go untreated for psychotic hallucinations or wind up with their scalps hanging from a buckskin belt. Oh, shit! Ow! Shit on a stickaroo! The parents that are griping about violence on TV are the same parents that go outside in the morning to fetch their papers, secure in the knowledge that they won't get an arrow through the noodle because the violence they hate so much done cleared the engines out of the neighborhood.
Yeah, civilization has benefited from violence. But should violence be treated as entertainment?
Check my rating, son. Violence is entertainment. I just put it on the air. If some kid watches, that says something about the kid, not me. Now, excuse me, we're going back on the air.
Hey, sport. This is a private office.
Yeah, I know, Mr.
McKnight. I own and operate this station. Have you brought me some news for tonight's broadcast, or...
I've lost my memory. That's news.
The hell it is. You always were a kidder, Steve. Any real news to tell me?
Actually, I was just wanting to know more about the TV station.
Hey, WHAR is the only television station in Harvest. Since the old Sentinel went under, what with the newspaper building burning down and all, we're golden. Nobody competes with us, Sport. Hey now, Sport, that's an irresponsible allegation. I had nothing to do with that fire. Just because WHAR may have benefited from it and I danced on the ashes a little, doesn't mean I torched the place. You can ask Sheriff Duane. You have any doubts.
You seem awfully touchy on the subject, Sport.
I'm touchy when people try to muscle their way into my business. I'd appreciate it if you leave my office and don't come back.
Steve, good of you to drop by, big guy. Haven't seen you since graduation. A lot of changes, I hear.
You could say that.
Good, good. That's a nice part of my job. Turning fine young men and women out into the world, and then watching them prosper. Of course, I was able to reach more people at the old Sentinel, God bless her. But then again, I never got to see the results of my work up close before.
Who are you?
You know very well I'm Mr. Harold, the principal of Gain Memorial. Steve, I've heard about this amnesia nonsense. I had hoped you'd be in the lodge by now, fine young fellow like yourself. But now, I think maybe you need a little more quality time. Boy, I sure miss the old newspaper. The sheriff never did investigate that fire properly. Call it a newspaper man's instinct, though I can't imagine why Sheriff Duane would cover up anything. I mean, the only ones who stood to profit from the newspaper going out of business was the owner of the TV station, and Mr. McKnight had an airtight alibi. Still, if not for the fire, I never would have wound up as principal of Gain Memorial.
Gain Memorial? Sounds like a cemetery or a hospital, not a school.
This institution was named for a great man, whose first name escapes me. He epitomized the great potential within us all, big guy. I hear there's an honorary plaque commemorating him within the lodge. Big guy, borrowing some quality time. The greatest gift I can bestow upon you as your former principal is a word of advice. Join the Order of the Harvest Moon at any cost. Within the lodge lies your future, and without, dust.
Why do you keep calling me big guy?
A sign of respect, lad. As principal, my station is higher than yours now, but you never know what the future holds, so you should always hedge your bets and pay tribute to your inferiors. You never know who will come to power, or who, even now, wields it behind the scenes. For all I know, you might already be a member of the Order, with access to the lodge. If that were the case, you'd be my superior, and I'd be all that much better off having shown you respect and spent some quality time with you.
What do you mean, quality time?
Some, like Miss Whaley, favor stern discipline, corporal punishment, as a means of socialization. Myself, I temper discipline with love. Quality time can be such a warm, sharing experience. After just a few sessions, you'd stop this amnesia nonsense and become a productive member of society and a fit candidate for the lodge. You turned out pretty good, except for that amnesia nonsense.
It's not nonsense.
Well, you always were a kidder, Steve. Maybe you need a little straightening out. Oh, the things I could do to you. You'd be a much finer young man with just a little quality time. Drop in again soon. Adult education is a wonderful thing, as is adult quality time.
Stephen. He used to be a student here at Keene Memorial. Say hello, class. They're reticent. The educator's greatest problem today is the apathy of the students.
What's wrong with her?
It. I can tell you in one word, Stephen. Discipline. Thank goodness you weren't a sulky bear. You were always a smiley bear.
Then you remember me?
Not as such. So many pupils, Stephen. They come and they go. But I can always spot those who are nice boys. You can tell from the forehead, the nose. Right, class? I'm glad you stopped by, Stephen. Would you care to say a few words to the class about civic responsibility?
Not really. I was just passing through.
Oh, but you must, Stephen. A positive role model might be just the thing to inspire these little monsters. Stephen, have you any questions for me? Or shall I continue with class? Ask away then.
Can you tell me anything about Harvest?
Harvest was founded by the Order of the Harvest Moon about 100 years ago.
For what purpose?
Why, I'm sure you'd have to ask them. You'll find the members of the Order at the lodge.
This lodge. What do you know about it?
The building itself, like Harvest, was constructed with a specific purpose in mind. That noble intent is known only to those within the Order. You're at about the right age to join them, Stephen, and you will do so if you care about your future. We don't practice corporal punishment here. I've never believed in that old adage, spare the rod and spoil the child, if a rod is too thin. But a baseball bat, that bridges the generation gap quite nicely. Oh dear, Colonel Russ is conducting another air raid drill. Everyone in the hallway, quick!
If an A-bomb hits, what good is it gonna do to duck and cover?
My stars, that was exciting. Stop by any time, Stephen.